thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining us today for this exciting launch of an MOU between IUCN and Longy Group. I'm very, very honored to be able to introduce our distinguished guests and to run you through this event this afternoon. My name is Rachel Asante-Owusu, and I'm the Senior Program Coordinator for Climate Change and Energy Transition at IUCN. So with no further ado, it is my absolute honor to introduce Mr. Yang Haimen, Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer of Longy, who will say a few words about the collaboration and the rationale behind it. Thank you very much. Dr. Yang.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to our event. My name is Haimen. I'm a Chief Sustainability Officer of Longy. So Longy Green Energy is the world's largest solar PV technology provider. For all the solar PV capacity that's installed in the world, it just exceeded 2 terawatts. 27% of that use Longy technology. For the longest time, we have been on the forefront of renewable energy and energy transition. But today it's my great privilege and pleasure to launch a collaboration between Longy Green Energy and IUCN and on biodiversity. Because we increasingly realized that climate change, biodiversity are highly interlinked. And we increasingly see that the solar PV technology has an important role to play in promoting biodiversity around the world. So I'm going to introduce a few project experiences that we have experimented with in different parts of the world. And then we're going to work with our partners for signing. Can we show that? Yeah. So the first project I'm going to introduce here is actually very opportune to COP29. We're having this at Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has a national ambition to increase the share of clean energy to 30% before 2030. So we really applaud that target and ambition. This is the first solar project, large-scale solar project that the country has done. It's in Gobustan. So Gobustan is 60 kilometers outside of the city of Baku. So as you can see from the picture, it's a relatively desert kind of terrain. So the 308 megawatt project is the largest in this country and the first large-scale project in the country, and also provides electricity for 110,000 households in Azerbaijan. So we also believe that the project has considerable ecological value given that the terrain it operates in. So it can allow for more vegetation to grow below the solar panels. So we got that inspiration, if you go to the next page, in many of our projects in China. So this picture we take from Inner Mongolia. So in Inner Mongolia, you have the Kubuchi Desert. So the Kubuchi Desert is the world's 7th largest desert. Our solar project there adds to 300 megawatts first, and then another 300 megawatts in the desert. And you can see the vegetation already is sprouting up below the solar panels. So we understand that having that shading, right, and having that protection against the ruthless weather in the desert is very conducive to the survival of the vegetation. to reverse the desert process. And the Kubuchi Desert is the world's largest sort of reversal of desert progress. So there has even been a local small climate where the precipitation or rainfall has increased more than tenfold after we start the initiative of growing vegetation in the desert. And here I will be joined by our partner from Ant Financing, so also playing an instrumental role to provide financing for consumers actually to put their savings into growing the trees in the desert. So it's a societal effort for us to bring the forces together to reverse the desert. And this is another project we have done, not on the desert, but on the coastal area. So in the Xiangshan, so Xiangshan is on the eastern coast of China. So this again is a 300 megawatt floating solar PV project on the beach, essentially. And that is an important fishing industry hub for China. For many years, this area has been plagued with gold grass, essentially a ecological killer for the local habitat for the mudflat the species, mudfish and crabs. And this project has basically cleaned up that invasion species. So the local habitat got a chance to get restored. So you will see that the migration birds are coming back, and there is now a healthy ecological environment on the beach in this beautiful island. So this, again, is a project that not only brings green electricity to local community, but also has significant ecological value. I'm very happy to share that in China, most of the projects now in the desert and in the coastal areas are approved based on the merit of biodiversity impact, not just on green electricity. As a matter of fact, many of the projects actually will not be able to get approved were it not for their biodiversity value, because the grid is already reaching a limit to take on more renewable energy, and you will also need to demonstrate, not just the renewable energy benefit, but also the environmental benefit for you to undertake such a project. If you go to the next. Here, let's maybe see a video together of some of the other projects happening.
Between the northern and southern regions of this country. This place is not only a majestic landscape, but also the home to many rare species, a treasure place of biodiversity. However, how can we better protect this magical land and all the creatures living here? Today, we're going to follow the steps of the engineers from Longyi to witness the coexistence of technology, science, and the nature.
我们回民保护区的话，现在面积是29240公顷。保护物种的话，旗舰物种当然就是我们的活宝大熊猫了。其他的像羚牛、金丝猴、朱鹮，就是秦岭四宝的话，我们现在区域内都有。
The engineers from Longyi have already installed the off-grid photovoltaic system within the Qinling Nature Reserve. These solar panels will convert solar energy into electrical energy, providing stable and green power support to the monitoring system.
我们的离网光伏系统不仅环保，还能为这片土地提供持续稳定的绿色电力，确保监控系统的全天候运行。
the green electricity provided by Longyi, the reserve surveillance system can operate 24/7, monitoring every corner of this land without any blind spots.
这个保护区最早，我们都是靠这个人力去巡护，还有监测。通过我们这次更换这些设备，太阳能的这个时间供电时间延长，所以我们这些画面它也不会断断续续。
The off-grid photovoltaic system installed by Longyi will provide continuous and stable electricity to the monitoring system, which will not only help the conservation areas and research institutions to better protect and study the flora and fauna of the Qinling Mountains, but also enables timely discovery and prevention of illegal hunting and logging through the real-time monitoring.
全国大野生大熊猫有2000多只，在佛坪保护区分布有67只左右。现在的监控用的是农机提供的绿色电力，能全天候的运行，能准确地追踪到野生动植物的成长和活动轨迹，为我们的保护工作提供了科学的依据。
All the efforts of each individual and the parties, the ecosystem in this place is progressively recovering, providing an enhanced habitat for a multitude of species. We hope and we would like to witness this trend of environmental commitment will keep growing, fostering an even greater synergy between ecology and technology.
So this is our first project to provide distributed solar energy in the microgrid to power the conservation efforts in natural reserve. We believe most of the natural reserve in the world are in remote places, and many of them are still living on diesel-powered power generation. So having distributed solar will play a bigger role beyond this, but many other projects of conservation efforts. So with that, I'll conclude my sharing, and I'll then hand it over to Mr. Stuart Magis and share with us the more stories of our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Haimeng. I thought that was beautiful, actually, really inspiring. This week, I think we're seeing that there is a real gap between what urgently needs to be done and the ambition to actually get that done. And we need to see more progress, more shift in the energy transition. 2 days ago, we launched the reassessment of the conservation status of coral reefs. We now know that the 44% of coral species are threatened with extinction. That's increased from 30% when we did the last reassessment. Corals are one of the most threatened groups, taxonomic groups with extinction, and that is principally almost entirely driven by climate change. So there's a real urgency, and we need to see a shift, and a dramatic shift away from fossil fuels and to renewables. However, one thing I think that's happened in the past is that we've tried to solve one problem at a time. We focused with good intentions to say, let's increase food production, or let's build infrastructure that connects cities, and we've forgotten actually that in doing so we may exacerbate 2 or 3 problems in their wake. So We may solve one problem, but we exacerbate 2 or 3. And this is why I'm really delighted by this new collaboration. Not so long ago, I'd say, conservationists like myself, who've worked in conservation for 40 years, would have been a little bit wary of working on infrastructure. But I think you've just seen there how we can really make nature, we can look for nature-positive infrastructure. By working together, we actually bring and start to solve problems together. It is possible. And I think this is, Haiming and myself were discussing just beforehand. We said, it's a bit of a strange relationship. IUCN, a conservation organisation, and LONGi, a renewable energy. But it's not. I think if we are going to solve problems for the 21st century, we need what I would call radical partnerships. We need bringing people with different interests but the same commitment together. And that's why I'm very, very pleased that we are working with, and we will sign this MOU with LONGi. Of course, also we are working with the ANT group as well. And I do think it's these types of radical partnerships where we say, right, we need to start to solve our problems together. We need to bring our different skills. I'm not an engineer. I don't know very much about the energy transition, but we're very happy to have a partner who can help on that, and hopefully we can contribute with our conservation science and our conservation knowledge. I think basically there is, if you looked at those first slides on with the restoration of the desert, yeah, I think this is another thing where we can bring in. It struck me, people would say, oh well, it's desert, but there's not. You have healthy hyper-arid ecosystems. Sorry to use technical terms, or you can have degraded hyper-arid ecosystems. And what we're actually seeing here is being able to combine the installation of renewable infrastructure with actually increasing the health and vitality and the biodiversity within a hyper-arid ecosystem. And of course we'll continue. We will continue to learn as we go along. We'll work through a science-driven, a science-informed collaboration, and being able to learn, adapt, improve. But I do think one of the things I do think that excites me about this collaboration is that we are very different partners, but we've got the same vision of how we actually address 2 major challenges that are facing the world that we have to address with greater increased urgency. Addressing climate change, addressing the biodiversity loss. We cannot trade one off against the other. We've got to find nature-positive solutions forward. So I'm really happy that we are now working to move forward on nature-positive renewables. Thank you very much.
So we've just seen some examples of why LONGi isn't just a world leader in renewable energy and solar power, but is also a renewable energy in sustainability. But it's not finished yet. I'm going to ask to come to the podium Mr. Wang Jiahui from the ANT Group, who's going to tell us some more stories about why this partnership is so crucial. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the invite from LONGi, and very glad to see IUCN, our old friends again. Because the time is limited, so I will quickly finish my presentation by Chinese quickly. So I will tell you 3 key words, 3 stories. 再往下。First story is about 上一页。First story is about the monkey. 我们在云南的这个丽江坚持了5年的时间，让我们在丽江所开展的生态修复和保护的项目地上面重新见到了滇金丝猴。滇金丝猴它能够这么近距离的跟人进行接触，我们觉得这是一个很重要的关键词，叫做坚持。那第2页再往下一页呢，我们讲的第2个故事，或者说第2个关键词叫做数字化。其实呢，我们跟LONGi有一个共同点，我们都有在共同保护 熊猫在陕西的佛坪，而我们的方式是通过在线上8000万人共同的参与，通过数字化的方式让大家一起来参与了保护，而龙基的方式通过科技的方式来开展保护。然后第3个关键词呢叫做创新。下一页，那我们今年在内蒙古，刚才张总所介绍到的内蒙古的库布齐的沙漠，我们开始了光伏治沙的行动，而这样的一个行动呢，也是创新了我们坚持了8年的治沙的这样的一个过程。所以呢，也是希望未来能够有机会通过数字化、通过科技、通过创新、通过这样的一种协同，有各方的力量一起来推动应对气候变化和生物多样性保护的协同行动，也是非常的荣幸能够再次有机会跟 IUCN 一起，包括跟隆基一起来发起和参与到应对气候变化和生物多样性保护的倡议当中来。谢谢 ，Thanks。
Thank you so much. So we're here to sign the Memorandum of Understanding between LONGI and IUCN. So we're going to have a quick countdown, and then we're going to ask our esteemed guests to please sign and put into action our collaboration. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good evening.